I'm literally giving it to them every day.
Let's talk about that before we begin. If you're running a business south of 5 million a year revenue, I know revenue is an arbitrary number because depending on the business model, that could be a lot or a little. Until your business truly becomes a turnkey business, which takes some time. Let's say you've got a bricks and mortar front, cafe, barber, tattoo shop, nail salon, doesn't matter. For the first 2 to 3 years, you are the main operator and you're not delegating, you're not abdicating, you're delegating, but before you delegate, you are micromanaging everyone. You're putting out fires non-stop. It's a mess in the beginning before the organizational tree gets to a point where you've hired an operator, upper manager, whatever you want to call it, general manager, doesn't care. Labels are labels. Even then though, that general manager, you're not paying them a salary good enough so that they can run the entire op. Very unlikely, unless you give a business partner equity in order to, put in the blood, sweat and tears, and you've put in the capital and you're doing less, kind of like what I've done. But then if I had to pay an operator with that skill set and those incentives, it would cost me a lot more. So up until that 5 million a year revenue, you're doing something actively daily. Whether you're talking to one person or two people, you're not driving with your hand off the wheel, so to speak. Okay. And I think people delegate too early and they abdicate too often. So what's the difference? Abdicate is you do that over there, you solve it. Delegate is I want you to do this task. This is how you do this task. And you break it down for them in dummy terms. You give them the exact recipe of how to do that said thing. So for example, abdicating when it comes to clipping is give us a few clips from the podcast. Delegating would be here are the timestamps. Here's the overlay. This is exactly how I want it to look. In the left corner, the right corner. This is the text. This is the copy. That's delegation. Okay. So I just thought I'd throw that out there for people that come to Bali, these entrepreneurs, and they just have seen too much Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and don't realize that there's a time and a place for everything. And I know that number of revenue might be 3 million for you or 10 million for someone else, doesn't matter. But for the most part, the first 2 or 3 years, you are delegating, abdicating, being a general manager, being a CFO. You're being a little bit of everything and putting out fires non-stop.
Yeah, you should definitely pass the water. Pass the water.
Oh, sorry.
You should definitely, thank you, sir. You should definitely show them the boundaries, the guidelines of what you want before you can fully delegate and step back.
It's not even a guideline. I think the best word would be the dummies book of how to do everything step by step. And you've memorialized it so that it's scalable. So if you're onboarding one staff member, you've memorialized that recipe, that introduction manual for everything, even all the way down to hygiene. Here, especially here, we have to have strict rules on hygiene. Some people don't clip their nails or they might smell. I mean, believe it or not, this happens. Maybe someone comes in after a bender. There are sort of things you think are common sense that are not common sense to a lot of employees. So you have to give them that dummy's guide.
Yeah.
And it's scalable because then you onboard the next guy. And if you've trained, let's say, a buddy, so it's maybe an upper manager or just an experienced staff member, they can buddy up with that person and follow them. Plus they've got the manual. But if you're coming in for each new staff member and teaching them the same shit that you could have memorialized for them to review, you're wasting your time. So that's being a good delegator. Then you're going to abdicate to people that have a brain. And sometimes abdication is better than delegation. And there are just times in a business when it gets big enough that you've hired people that are actually better than you at specific tasks. Because as a CEO, you're basically just managing people, putting out fires, and you're the visionary of where you want the company to go.
Yeah.
But there are specialists within your company that you hire that are better than you at that task or better than you were at that task coming up.
How do you tell a staff member that they smell?
How do I?
Yeah.
Because I'll just say, you smell. You need to sort that out.
And what if they say, No, I don't.
Fired. Hiring, monitoring, and firing is part and parcel of being a good SME owner. I would say, okay, hiring, onboarding, training, monitoring, firing. Those 5 steps. You need to be good at them. That's basically HR. But in the beginning, you're not outsourcing HR because you can't afford to do it. A lot of people, they create these organizational trees. You got the CEO, you got the main operators, you got marketing department, sales department, HR, CFO, the bean counter. Yeah, it's all good and well when the company is turning over enough for you to be able to hire that many people. But in the beginning, oftentimes it's you or you and one other person that are filling in those roles in the organizational tree. I still believe you should fill out an organizational tree so that you see the hierarchy of the business and who answers to who. Even if it's just you, I still create an organizational tree. And then as I hire someone to replace me in that task, then I replace them in the organizational tree. And the reason is that if you've got a business partner and you're 2 alpha males, you will clash unless you have clearly defined roles at the company.
Shareholders agreement.
Yeah, it's exactly. You know, contracts are there for a reason. You don't necessarily have to have a contract if you're 2, reasonable individuals and you're high IQ enough. As long as you have clearly defined roles, I'll stay out of your way, you stay out of mine when it comes to this task. And that's also why I always want to elect one leader at the end of the day, one CEO, even if that is not a life sentence, not permanent. Just, maybe we'll review the status after 6 months. If you reach these, KPIs, or if you're underperforming, maybe I can take the lead. But when I hand over power to that CEO, even if the majority of the capital is mine, unless they do something completely rogue, I'm letting them do their thing, even if I disagree. Because there's too much friction when you've got 2 alphas that are disagreeable and they think their way is the best way or even the only way at times. And that's typically how alphas operate. So I just think that having clearly defined roles at any company is super important, and family members forget this more than ever, and so do friends. So when they say never do business with friends and family, I disagree. You'll actually have a closer bond. There's more loyalty. They're less incentivized to fuck you over based on blood and friendship, but you still need clearly defined roles.
Yeah, I think shareholders agreements is like a prenup, right? It's more like a memorandum of understanding of these are my roles and these are your roles, because later in the future, he can be like, I'm all doing this and I'm doing this. Back to the shareholders agreement, we made this agreement. We agreed on this. You will do this and I'll do this. Similar with a prenup, when a woman doesn't know what she's going to get, she's more romanticizing the idea. If I leave him, maybe I can get this, I can get the house. But if she knows before getting married, if I leave him, I'll get this much money. Is it worth it? No, I'm going to stay.
Prenups are fucking stupid.
Really?
They're fucking so dumb. Let's go back to the shareholders agreement first. With the shareholders agreement, I agree, but when you're working with someone you're intimate with, friend, family, still have the flexibility that this is dynamic and the company can evolve. And so the shareholders agreement can be changed. As the companies get larger, it matters a lot, obviously, the board, etc. And you're starting to play game theory with board members. But when it's just you and a friend, definitely just be human. That actually does work a lot of the time. But still, just reiterating that you have clearly defined roles at the company, and actually the roles being so clearly defined that both of you are just preoccupied that you don't even have the time to cross-contaminate. If I'm doing marketing and sales, and then old mate is doing HR, anything CFO related, those 2 departments or those 4 departments are so separate with regards to what we're actually doing in the day that will unlikely cross-contaminate. That's just how I see it.
You're right. As the business grows, the shareholder agreement must change as well. You have to be versatile, because when you have 2 people in a business, it's a seesaw of effort. Right now, it's all you because this is your expertise. But later, it's going to be me that's going to come in and chime in and blah, blah, blah. So it's a seesaw of responsibility.
Yeah. I think the best companies in the world, even the biggest ones, they weren't built on structure per se. They were just built on good founders. Many of your favorite VC guys will reiterate that. They'll say, yeah, we had all the right things in place, but because the founders were just good humans and loved working, they just worked it out at the end of the day. I mean, unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, the lizard. But, with Mark Zuckerberg, I think he was so good at what he was doing that, you know,
Genius.
everyone else just had to go.
Genius. And the Vilkawas twins, they were like, oh, he stole our idea. He wouldn't have been able to, if it was your idea, you wouldn't be able to take it to where it is today. He bought Instagram for $1 billion. They wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
It was like pre-rev.
Yeah. With the Zuck, the lizard, and the reason I say lizard, no feelings, I mean, that ruthlessness was required to bring it to be that incumbent in the social space. We're talking about a company that isn't 10 mil, 100 mil, 1 bill. We're talking about trillions. How much is Meta now? The market cap of Meta? I mean, this is an anomaly, right? Same rules don't apply.
1.67 trillion.
1.67 trillion now. Same with Tesla. I mean, I usually say you can only be the CEO of one company, but an Elon Musk can be the CEO of multiple companies because the way that he operates, his organizational tree, it's completely different. He talks to employees. You know, he doesn't have that line of defense like a lot of your conventional corporate organizational trees does. I heard on a podcast that he has like 100 5-minute interviews a day sometimes with employees.
Wow.
He did that at X before Twitter became X. So he just has a completely different model in general.
Yeah.
But we can move on from that now
Yeah.
because I wouldn't consider myself the expert when it comes to corporate structure, organizational trees, SMEs. I consider myself a capital investor at this point. But of course, in order to earn enough money to be able to reinvest, you still need to have some cash flow coming in, at least early days before you pick up a heap of Bitcoin or whatever. You still need to understand the basics of being a subcontractor, being an employee, being an employer, building an SME, whether it be a bricks and mortar, or maybe you start an online business, which was part of the experiment for me, doing the personal brand. I just wanted to dip my toes in these areas so that I could hang with people in conversations, you know, but my bread and butter is not to be a builder. My bread and butter is to be a capital investor. So what that means for people like me, we don't focus on scale when it comes to an SME. So one guy who is focused on building scale, he might go, I want one location. I'm going to try it out with 2 more locations. Then I'll have a central production kitchen or HQ. And then I'm going to try and franchise and get 100 different locations. Whereas me, the moment there is excessive cash flow and I think, oh, this is not tax efficient, I'm reinvesting that either to build enterprise value in that company to sell it as quick as possible, or it's going into Bitcoin. And then the treasury at the company becomes more valuable than the business model itself, which is actually what's happened for me. The Bitcoin has become so valuable that anything else I do is not even worth a mention. Because if I tell people now what I do, what I earn now, it's not enough to support the lifestyle. The burn rate is such that once I get through this US dollars, eventually, yeah, I'm going to have to shave some Bitcoin off the top. But before I shave the Bitcoin, it'll be the ETH and the Cardano and the NFTs and the crappy alts. And I've just got this runway now of stable coins, US dollars, dirhams, Indonesian rupiah, that I'm just going to burn through that. And then who knows where Bitcoin will be. If Bitcoin is genuinely at 250 to 500K, I'm not working again.
Would you ever stream again?
I'll stream now because it's an experiment and I'm not that rich that this might not be a good idea. So if we, by some random chance, become famous streamers, this will take precedent over my Bitcoin investments. But should Bitcoin moon tomorrow, which it's unlikely to do so, I'm going to be far less incentivized to stream if the stream isn't making us money. It's just pointless, bro. You know, because then I've got enough money for the rest of my days, not only my days, not only our family's days, but our kids' days.
Yeah.
Even though they'll probably piss it up. I mean, you know, you don't remember your great-grandfather's name. That's where it ends.
Yeah. Well, Bitcoin is going on a rally, which is good. It's hit the C. Let me share this screen. It's hit the. Do you believe in the whole resistance and support lines?
Of course I don't, because I'm not a fucking retard TA guy that gets it wrong every time.
Well, that's the support right
I
there
don't
on the
even want
daily
to talk
chart.
about that.